Great, Alexis, thank you very much. So with that, we bring in Brit Hume, Fox News chief political analyst, and Kellyanne Conway, former senior counsel to President Trump, now president of KA Consulting, and a Fox News contributor. Brit, it's interesting. You see Nikki Haley on the trail there, and her folks, I spoke to some of them today. They say, we're not going anywhere. They want this process to go on longer. They believe if it does, there's 10 open primaries on Super Tuesday. They say only a handful of people have voted so far. I mean, unfortunately, that's the process. That's the way it works. But can they make an argument to hang in, and for how long?
Well, politicians tend to drop out of these races when they run out of money, or it's clear, utterly clear, that they have no path forward. And the results here tonight will tell us whether she has any kind of a path forward. You know, the next big state, as we all know, is South Carolina. That's her home state. The polls show her trailing down there. If she doesn't, do particularly well here tonight, it's not clear how you make the case for her candidacy going forward. On the other hand, she deserves credit on a couple of counts, in my view. One of them is that she's been willing to talk about abortion in a way that Republicans have been kind of tongue-tied and unable to handle. And secondly, on foreign policy, she's an internationalist, and she's being an internationalist at a moment when her party's majority seems inclined against that. I think my personal view is that she's right on those issues, but this is a state that might reward that. Looking ahead, though, the calendar isn't full of states like that.
What do you think about Nikki Haley tonight?
Well, she has elevated those issues in the past. Britt's absolutely correct, but not recently. Every clip I've seen of her on Fox News today, she's not talking about abortion. She's not talking really about international issues. And she wasn't Secretary of State. She was UN ambassador. There is a difference. However, I do think she deserves credit for being in the race. But most of our message at this point, and most of the donors who are still around her, Martha and Britt, are because she's not Trump. So the question is, can your math and path ever be enough just by not being the other person? It was enough for Joe Biden in a very peculiar year, 2020, when he didn't have to leave his basement in Delaware, literally. And we had more people voting in more ways over more time than ever before because COVID allowed that to happen. But look, Nikki Haley gave us a preview this weekend about how things would look in South Carolina. Most of the South Carolina cognoscenti were here in New Hampshire for Donald Trump. The sitting governor, sitting lieutenant governor, attorney general, some other statewide officials, and also a couple of members of Congress. I think if Nikki really wants to build the case and survive her loss tonight in New Hampshire and go on to her home state where it's winner take all, where Donald Trump got all of the 42 delegates 8 years ago, she should have more endorsements coming out from the House, from people in South Carolina. She should be campaigning not just with Kristen Sununu, the governor of New Hampshire. She should have people in South Carolina who she helped, who say, you know what, this was the greatest governor we've ever had. Then she did us proud on the international stage. She adds to the conversation on abortion. I think other people like J.D.
Well, she's got a month to do that, 5 weeks to do that.
She's not doing that here, I guess, is my point. She's relying on people who don't participate traditionally in Republican politics.
No, it's worth noting, Martha, that some of the people who come out for Trump are people she manifestly helped in South Carolina.
Nancy
Mace being one signal example. There are others, Tim Scott as well. So it's not clear to me that if she goes out and looks for more endorsements in South Carolina among Republicans, that she's going to, people you've heard of, that she's going to be able to find them.
And she says, she's won twice in South Carolina, but she hasn't run against Donald Trump in those races. And I think a lot of people perceive him as sort of a quasi-incumbent in this strange situation that we're in, where we have someone who has been out for 4 years who wants to be president again, which is Grover Cleveland's the last time we saw that happen. So that, I think, is an important part of this. The electorate and how it may be changing. Interesting piece today in the Free Press. And it points to this poll, which we all saw in November, that showed that young people, Latinos, college women, and millennials were leaning towards Trump. And this piece just sort of talks to a lot of different voters who you never would have put in the Republican category traditionally. Right. Do you see a shift going on, and are these parties changing, and are people finding a different home than they had before?
I think that's clearly true, that we are seeing that. Trump brought a lot of voters that were not normally Republican into the party in 2016 and 2020, and I think he'll do the same this time. Part of this is the manifest disappointment among traditional Democratic voters with the results that that Joe Biden has given us. I mean, I would say, based on results and policy and effect, that this is the weakest incumbent president that I've ever seen, and I'm doing this going back nearly 60 years. So
President Biden chose not to participate here, Kellyanne. There's a write-in campaign effort going on for him. You see people around with signs, write in Joe Biden. Dean Phillips is running against him. What kind of night does Dean Phillips have to make people raise their eyebrows about how strong or not strong Biden is?
He's already having a great day. He got the endorsement of the union leader. That's pretty remarkable for a non-incumbent president. And I think Joe Biden snubbing the voters in New Hampshire is the real story here. There are news articles today, Martha, showing that Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, so many others from the administration are basically decamping to South Carolina. They're putting all in there. It's a mistake, though, to ignore the people of a state. And it's a big mistake for Joe Biden, who right now has more opponents tonight than Donald Trump does. He has more opponents in the Democratic Party.
He's got Marianne Williamson and he's got Dean Phillips.
And he's got that, but he also has, you see the signs all around us here in New Hampshire, Martha and Brit. He has write-in ceasefire. I mean, I don't think ceasefire is going to beat Joe Biden, but it's really embarrassing that that's even a possibility and somebody's paid money for that. This great migration, though, these demographics changes are critically important. I think Trump has an opportunity to grow the party that Joe Biden is shrinking. You have to grab them. Economics, energy, border.
So last thought, Brit.
Just this. 1968, I'll never forget it. I read a piece in the New Republic, which was from a reporter, a well-regarded reporter who'd been up here trekking through the snow with Eugene McCarthy, whose campaign was thought hopeless. This article said as much: hopeless, sad, pathetic, so forth. He got 42% of the vote and knocked Lyndon Johnson out of the race, changed the course of history. And so this is a state that delivers some surprises.
We've certainly seen them.
Often to leaders and front runners.
Yeah. All right. So I'm excited. Things can be interesting. We'll see what happens tonight. Brit Hume, thank you. Kellyanne, Conway, great to have both of you with us. Thanks so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.